What's going on? It's your boy, Brother L, and I'm back with another one. And this is going to be about the attack on Iran, the U.S. attack on Iran. And I'm going to give my perspective as a Marine, former Marine. I guess you can say former Marine. Once a Marine, always a Marine, right? You know, I served from, it was a minute ago, but I did serve from 2004 through 2008. And I also did a year deployment in Iraq doing civil affairs missions. And we pretty much ran our own missions. We did go out a lot with the infantry at first, but then we were able to kind of stick together as one team and had enough to go out on our own. And we provided our own security and all of that. But anyways, as far as this attack on Iran, all right, so there's there's obviously is going to be not popular. I think most of the country is not with this attack, but I do think that can be able to pull this off and sell it historically, right? Because as far as his legacy, because that's the biggest thing. Like for example, with George Bush, George W. Bush, George W. With him, his legacy will forever be the failed. I'm not gonna say failed. Should I say failed? I'm not gonna say it's a failed war, but it was just a real dirty, long drawn out forever war. George W. is always going to be known. George W. Bush is always going to be known as that president that got us into long forever wars in the Middle East. 20 years in Afghanistan, almost 20 years or however long in Iraq. So that's one thing that Trump definitely runs the risk of is he decided to go right back into the Middle East and pretty much start a war with Iran. Now, it's debatable as far as him starting it, right? Here's the thing. Was it a popular thing to do? No, it's not popular. There's a split in the Republican Party as far as we don't want no more foreign wars. We're sick and tired of that. And there's some in the Republican Party that's going to be like, or at least I should say pro-Trump, that would be like, you know what, I think it's the right thing to do. We just stop the world from going into nuclear war and whatever the case may be. Here's my take on it as a former Marine, as a person that served. This is what I think on it. I think it's not the popular thing to do, but I do believe that ultimately it was the right thing to do with us being out in our position. And here's why. Even if the Israel thing aside, that whether you agree with Israel or not, here's what I think. All right, the Middle East is a very turbulent place anyway, right? But the one thing that these Arab nations and Israel both agree on is that Iran, which is not an Arab nation, Iran is Persian. Okay, so with these Arab and also even though Iran is Islamic, Iran is Shia. They're Shia Muslim. Almost like 90% of the Arab nations are Sunni Muslim. Okay, so you got to keep that in mind. And a lot of the wars and fighting over there are because of religion. That's the culture there. So they fight and die over their faith and over their God. They've always been doing that since the beginning of time. When they worship many gods and goddesses, they always fight over their faith over there. And this Iranian regime believes that they have to destroy the world in order to bring about the 12th Imam. The 12th Imam is supposed to be this, basically almost like this messianic figure, but within Islam, Shia Islam. The Sunnis don't believe this. But in Shia Islam, they believe that once the destruction of the world happens, that's going to bring about the coming of the 12th Imam. And he's going to come through and basically save the world and rebuild the world underneath of a Shia Islam caliphate. All right, so that's the thing. This Iranian regime, they don't even care about being destroyed, because they know that even if it means their own destruction, even if they try to destroy Israel and bring out this World War III Armageddon style war that they trying to get, they don't care if they get destroyed, because it's going to bring about the coming of the Islamic eternal age where Islam rules the world underneath of the 12th Imam. Okay? This is what these people really believe. This Islamic regime, this Islamic Republic of Iran regime. Alright? So that's why they're so obsessed with nuclear energy, and they want to build it underneath of mountains, 400 feet underneath of mountains, so that nothing can get to it. And nothing can get to it. Unless you're going to go out there and have teams that drill down. And in order to do that, you need a ground invasion to provide the security. No bombs that can be dropped underneath the ground and blow up that deep into this. You realize once you go underneath the ground a certain amount, it's just nothing but stone anyway. It's bedrock. It's just stone. Because it's pressured so hard, the soil just turns to stone over time. So the only thing that can get that deep is these bunker busting bombs that can blow up 200 feet of bedrock at a time. So that's why they had to drop 2 of them on it, because they're saying that they're about 400 feet deep. So they dropped 2 of them because each one gets about 200 feet of bedrock blown out of the dirt. All right. Now, even if you did have these bombs, because we're the only ones on Earth that have bombs with these capabilities, that engineered bombs that can do this. Even if you did have them, you got to be able to fly them there and drop them off without getting detected or without getting blasted out of the air. And then you also still want to get the crew home safely, right? So there's that part too. So you got to do a stealth mission, unless you're going to go in with overwhelming force and broadside take over the airspace. You would have to slip into the airspace without being detected, or if detected, successfully defend off any attacks. Not only did they have to worry about defending off any attacks, they didn't have to worry about attacks because they came in undetected. And the thing is, I think it's the right thing to do. All right, I got into a lot of detail about it, but the bottom line is, I do think it was the right thing to do. It's not the popular thing to do, no, because we don't want another forever war in the Middle East again. But I do think that it's the right thing to do because of their mindset, and that's why I explain their mindset so much, because their mindset is, we just got to blow the whole world up so that the 12th Imam can come and establish this Islamic paradise on earth. Well, excuse me. Well, because they believe that, people like that, look, I know they say that they don't want regime change. That's what they're supposed to say, but I believe that behind closed doors, that the Trump administration wants regime change. Definitely Israel wants regime change. But at least right now, if the regime has to stay in power, they can stay in power, but they're not going to be able to have their nuclear holocaust. They're going to have to do it the conventional way, and good luck with that, because we saw what just happened the conventional way. They conventionally got their tails whooped. All right? So go ahead, like, comment, subscribe. I want to know what you think below in the comment section. Appreciate you. Thank you. Have a blessed one.